Hey, happy Tuesday. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday afternoon for your forecast. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we've got a lot to talk about today. Hey, big news. If you are traveling this Thanksgiving and you want to see the forecast, maybe on Monday or Tuesday, we are now live behind the scenes on both TikTok and Instagram. So not only from where you're watching from today, whether that be Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or LinkedIn, we now have added Instagram to that list of places to watch. So you shouldn't miss a forecast here. Let's get into it. It's a busy forecast. Guess what? Hail returns to the forecast. We have hail, wind, and that tornado risk. And if that wasn't enough, what about the snow and that big cool down that we're watching for? We're calling it an Arctic blast through a good portion of the U.S. We are almost all of us going to see those temperatures tumble. So we've got a lot to talk about. Let's jump right into it. Here's a look at your showers and storms over the last 24 hours. One place that we're going to be watching for is down to the south and east. Atlanta getting that rain this morning, going to get rain once again on Thursday as well. So if you have a turkey trot later in the day in Atlanta, it may be a rainy one. That's where we're watching for those severe storms. Other than that, we've got some snow out in Colorado. We even saw a little bit of snow on the ground in some of the shaded places just outside of Denver. So that snow, it's creeping up on Denver here. Other than that, we have not seen any severe weather across the U.S. It's been pretty quiet in terms of severe risks. Here's your rainfall totals. Pretty sparse, not terribly impressive, except for out in California, where we were watching for that flooding risk yesterday. Higher up in the higher elevations, California and those mountain tops, we've gotten some pretty good snow accumulation, some decent snow accumulation across the last 24 hours in some of those higher elevations in Colorado. And then even just off of the Great Lakes, we've gotten some decent snow accumulation as well. That will continue. This Midwest, northern Midwest, Great Lakes, and even into the Northeast snow will continue as we head into the next few days. Okay, we've been talking about a cool down. What are we talking about for today and tomorrow? A brief warm up. So this is yesterday. We had that big cool down move through Oklahoma. We had that big cool down move through the plains. Now we're starting to warm up just a little bit, okay? It's a small and brief warm up, okay? Not too much here going on, maybe a little bit warmer out to the Four Corners, about average for a good portion of our central U.S. states. We're talking Oklahoma, Kansas, Arkansas, Tennessee, about average for this time of the year. But we have a cold front coming through, and that's going to make our temperatures tumble as we head into Thursday and Friday. So we've got a day. If you want to put up your Christmas lights, today or tomorrow is the day to do it for places like Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, and Missouri. Those are the places that you have to put up your Christmas lights today or tomorrow, because it's going to get cold after that. We've already got some rain and snow going on in places like New York, all the way up into some more of our northern New England states. Those showers that we saw in Atlanta this morning, making it really cloudy up there, have now moved off to the east, hugging the east coast there. And then as you look farther out to the west, this has been the problem area with that bomb cyclone last week, finally getting a little bit quieter and drier now as well. They need to dry off for a little bit. We've got some showers turning into snow in the higher elevations out to the Four Corners as well. Current temperatures sitting in the 50s here in Oklahoma City, 41 out in Kansas City, warmer down to the south and east, but of course cooler up to the north, where temperatures out in Minneapolis are going to struggle to get above freezing. We're at 24 right now. There's your hazard for your flood risk today, just on the southern side of some of these California mountains. Not terribly concerned about that flood risk. Great news, because we have seen flooding just over and over and over in this area. All right, let's get to what everyone's talking about. Snow, hail, wind, tornado risk. Oh my, we've got a lot on the docket today. Let's start with that winter weather first. Out to the west, you're going to see some of this moisture start to push to the east into places like Denver. Getting some snow flurries today, but more of that snow expected to come later on tonight and into Wednesday. Thanksgiving Eve. Could it be a white Thanksgiving? It definitely could be. We're not talking about closing the city type of snow. No, we had some of that big snowfall totals at the very beginning of November, What we're talking about here is about 4 to 6 inches in Denver proper, enough that they can clear the streets by your Black Friday morning. Your Black Friday, headed out shopping, I think that the streets will be mostly clear in Denver proper by then. Of course, higher snowfall totals up in higher elevations. Taking a look at our New England states, another area that could get some pretty decent snow, especially right along the Great Lakes here. I read a report a few days ago about how our lake effect snow could be more enhanced this year because we stayed warmer for longer. So now we've got a ton of moisture coming off of the lakes, and we could see some pretty decent snowfall totals in this area as well. Not only today, but definitely tomorrow and even into Thursday and Friday, where you can see some of those snowfall totals going up just a little bit out in our Midwestern and New England states. Another area to watch for snow and cold weather will be North Dakota into places like Minnesota and Wisconsin. So what we're watching for in this area is extreme cold weather and then some pretty decent snowfall totals. Low visibility is possible here with that snow blowing across the road, blocking out your visibility. Could we get snow down into some of our plains states or southern plains states? It's possible to get some snow from western Kansas all the way to the Oklahoma Panhandle. Now, the National Weather Service has a very, very low chance early Thursday morning for some flurries or some sprinkles out near central Oklahoma. Now, if you see any of this, it will melt on impact. It will not be anything to write home about. However, hey, we love the first flurries of the season here. We get really, really excited about that. Of course, a lot more impressive things going on out to the east and out to the west, where those snowfall totals could get up into several feet in the upper elevations. So yes, we're watching for that wet weather in terms of winter weather, but we're also watching for that wet weather in terms of severe weather, which is probably why a lot of people got on here today. What are we talking about for severe weather? Here's your area to keep an eye on. Okay, we saw that rain today out in the southeast. Tomorrow we're gonna dry up just a little bit. One area that is not shown is New Orleans, which could have a low severe weather risk tomorrow. And then we're gonna move across most of the East Coast, anywhere from places like Alabama all the way up to South Carolina for that severe risk on Thursday, on Thanksgiving. Okay, it's a low risk. We call this marginally severe, but it's still on the docket, and especially for November, that's something to keep an eye on. So let's talk about Wednesday. This will be late Wednesday into Thursday, early Thursday morning. You're waking up in some of these areas with a rumble of thunder, a strike of lightning for your Thanksgiving morning. The hail risk will be isolated. Those wind gusts at 65 miles an hour or weaker than 65 miles an hour. Still, you're gonna have to watch some of these stronger storms, and I see that we've got some people commenting on here. Thank you so much for watching today. We appreciate that. I can see all of your comments, so if you have any questions, it'll appear on this side of the screen. Put those comments and questions in the comments section. All right, back to those severe storms. Here we go. It'll be isolated late on Wednesday into early Thursday, anywhere from Louisiana, talking about places like New Orleans, all the way up to Mississippi, and even portions of Alabama. There's your severe risk. Again, it's not for everyone. It'll be isolated. There's your forecasted instability. You can see that moving in later in the day, getting a little bit more impressive into the late night hours. What about the hail model? I was actually pretty impressed with this hail model. Let's see if we can see some of those yellows start to move in here. If we can get the right storm, we could get a decent hail risk. However, I don't think it's gonna be this entire area. It may be like one town, maybe one town in this area. So I have our risk at green at a low risk, okay? Not everyone getting those storms, but I think one place could get, maybe two places could get a decent hailstorm out of this. We'll have to see. It's kind of tricky this time of the year. Maximum forecasted hail size, I wanted to go quarter, but I thought maybe we could get like 1.25 inches out of this, so I went ping pong ball sized hail. Truly, I think that we'll be right in between these sizes here. Will that be quarter or ping pong ball sized hail? I think we'll be right in between. Your wind forecast, about 65 miles an hour is what we're seeing from strong wind gusts. That could blow things around. So if you still have things on your porch, maybe some of those plants that you've been covering up to protect them from the freeze, I would go ahead and move those a little bit closer to the house. That'll protect them from the freeze as well. So looking at that forecasted radar just one more time, I really want to pinpoint the timing of this here. It'll be overnight hours, so make sure that you have multiple alerts just in case we do get a pulse storm that will pulse up and will cause some hazards here. Jackson all the way down to Alexandria, all the way up to the central portion of Alabama is where we're watching for this here. Now moving on to, we'll stay with Wednesday just for one more moment. That tornado risk is low. It's on the board. It's low. It's very, very low, but it's still something to note. High winds, I think, will be the biggest risk here. That hail risk, also, as I mentioned earlier, isolated. Now let's move on to Thursday. Okay, Thursday, once again, if we do see any hail, it will be on that lower side, right in between, excuse me. Oh, I thought I was gonna sneeze. Excuse me, the allergies must be getting to me. I'm ready for this freeze to make all the allergies go away. Low hail, right around the size of a quarter. Again, this is a wide area. The Storm Prediction Center is still pinpointing where exactly we're expecting the strongest storms. I think it'll be right off the coast here on the southern side of this area. So I pinpointed Savannah for that moderate risk. So just a little bit above a low risk to see hailstones, still on the smaller side, but I do think that we could get some sort of hailstorm in this area. Atlanta, still a pretty low risk. The farther north that you go, pretty low risk for those strong storms. So if we do see anything, it'll be pretty isolated. Again, that was on Thursday, on Thanksgiving Day. So I do think in the afternoon, in places like Atlanta, Birmingham, it's gonna be rainy. You are gonna have to move all of those Thanksgiving plans indoors. And then watch what happens to your temperatures. You know, your temperatures are gorgeous in this area today. We're sitting in the 60s. On Thursday and Friday, we're totally skipping over the 50s. We're not even gonna have highs in the 50s. We're going right down to the 40s as this front pushes through. Ahead of it is where all of those storms are. Behind it, that Arctic blast. It is a big cool down here as cold temperatures move in. 41 in Birmingham for your low on Friday morning. 34 out in Memphis. We're right about freezing here in Oklahoma City. I do think that there's a good chance to get down into the 20s here. We are in the 20s in Kansas City, 17 in Denver, and then we're starting to see those single digits or even below zero up in some of our northern states. As I mentioned, we're watching for a pocket of very cold air up in places like North Dakota. So that would be Thanksgiving into Black Friday. That's whenever a lot of that cold air is moving in for most of the country. And look at that. Actually, I want to go back. I want to see if I can go back to this really quickly here. Most of the country is below freezing on what is this, Saturday morning? Here, let me get through it here. Cold, cold for all of you standing out on Black Friday. We're barely even warming above freezing in some places on Black Friday. And it is. It's Saturday morning, below freezing through a good portion. If I could just like draw a line here for a good portion of the country. So this is the time of year you have to go into storage now to get those big winter coats out. You're definitely going to want them on Friday and Saturday. Let's look into December. After Saturday, what are we looking at here? December 1st through the 5th, still staying pretty cold out on the East Coast, below average conditions, below average temperatures, especially the farther east that you go. But we get some relief from that cold out to the west as that warmer air starts to move its way in. Again, how do you read this temperature map? You see it all over social media. What does this mean? The darker the color, the higher the risk for colder temperatures. So we're talking below average up in Chicago. 44 is the average for this time of the year. We're likely going to be below that to kick off December. Very similar for Oklahoma City, looking like below average temperatures. Here lately, we've seen a lot of moisture, lots of wet weather out to the west. However, that's going to change as we start December as well. Drier conditions through a good portion of the middle of the country right there. But of course, December is something that we'll talk about in that next forecast. For now, make sure that you are weather aware for your Thanksgiving. Those storms will start down to the south and east in Louisiana and Mississippi on Wednesday. and then move across a good chunk of the southeast for Thursday. So make sure that you're staying weather aware. Of course, before we have that next forecast, we'll be posting on our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. So make sure that you follow us there. And then we'll be reachable by phone or email if you're interested in a wind, hail, or tornado map. So if anything happens on Wednesday or Thursday that produces hail, high wind, or a tornado, we have that tornado risk on Wednesday. We have meteorologists staffed 24/7, even during the holidays. So they'll be mapping it for you, and you can give us a call and get set up with some of those maps if you're interested. Also, head over to hailtrace.com for more information. All right, thanks for joining us on this Tuesday. Have a happy holidays. Just a quick programming note here. We will have a forecast tomorrow, so we'll be updating you on that for Wednesday. However, our office will be closed on Thursday and Friday, so then we'll see you back here on Monday. But hey, we have a forecast tomorrow, so we'll see you back here. Same time, same place tomorrow.